Yeah, so thanks for having me back. Um, Basically, we're going to continue where we left off in the last session. So we had just covered SEO. Um, Now going to move on to kind of more content related stuff before covering GEO and various other aspects of this. And towards the end, we'll give a recap of the whole thing. And I just want to reiterate again, one last time about the utilizing the tip sheet and the AI ops sheet that comes with this. They're going to be really, really helpful resources to get you started on the marketing side, especially if you're a technical founder and you're not necessarily used to, doing these kinds of tasks and using AI in this way. So those would be really helpful for you. But yeah, for now, we're going to continue where we left off.
Next slide, the content engine. So yeah, content is obviously a huge part of marketing. Um, it's what you need is a system that makes the whole content problem feel like it's manageable. So you can create something once, but you can publish it 5 times. So in many cases, um, none of you likely have time to be an entire content team. Uh, but the good news is, yeah, you don't really have to. You don't really need 5 ideas a week. You just need one good idea and you need a pipeline. So you start with like a single source asset. So whether it's like a demo recording or you've done like a workshop or a build session, or you have like a, a real result from a user using your product, um, like real user feedback. So from a single one of those assets, you can get like a 30-second clip for X. You can get a thread with like a walkthrough with like a story behind it. You can get a blog post version of it, which you can then optimize for SEO and GEO. And yeah, AI is very good at doing this stuff for you. Um, and you can also, this can also make up a section of like your monthly newsletter, for example. Um, could even depending on what it is, it could even make up like an FAQ question, or it could make up an entry to your documentation. So like a single a single thing can with the right pipeline, it can be used in many different ways. Um, so yeah, basically, this is the way to I this is the way that I personally would approach it. As a single person who's very very busy, a single person company, very very busy, and you have like 60 minutes to 90 minutes a day for marketing. Focus on your really core updates, but find different ways, different pipelines for distributing that single update. Um, so that this is kind of like how small teams can look very prolific and how they're doing a lot. Um, and this is why like documenting everything matters. So as you're building, document the things that really matter, and that then becomes your content across these different pipelines. Um, yeah, so yeah, I've got a note here. One rule: adapt the shape to each platform. So you don't want to paste the same text everywhere because it looks very lazy. That kind of laziness will in turn shape your brand perception immediately. Uh, each of these different like surfaces, different platforms, they have their own kind of like native format and audiences who expect various things to be said in the various ways. So try to adapt the content for whatever platform you're choosing to distribute it. So AI is your marketing department. So yeah, I mean there is a lot of hype about how AI can do the marketing of like entire teams. It does still take work. One person using AI tools can do marketing very very effectively these days. That's for sure. But it does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of learning what works and what doesn't with these tools. Um, so you likely can't afford to hire yet, I'm sure. But yeah, you don't really have to at this stage. You just really need to learn a really good AI workflow that works properly. So like one founder with good AI tooling can cover most of what a content writer, a designer, analyst or researcher, and a community assistant could do for a project. You know, a single person with using AI tools properly can do all of these different things. And there's a really obvious point. You're literally building AI agents this summer, so apply the same leverage to your own growth that you're building into your products. Uh, this is the stuff that you want to hand over to AI. So content that needs drafting, feed it a demo transcript or feed it your build notes. When I say it, I mean LLM. Get from that, you'll get a thread, you'll get a blog, you'll get a newsletter draft, and you can repurpose, you know, the create once, publish 5 times rule that I mentioned before. That pipeline from the last slide, you can run that in minutes. Yeah, it doesn't take hours; it takes minutes. AI can do your research, it can do your monitoring, it can do your competitor analysis and competitor scans. It can do weekly GEO and SEO checks of your content. You know, it can do all of these things. It can do your, if you learn how to use it properly, it can do all of your visuals, your graphics, your thumbnails, it can do simple videos. You just kind of need to find the right tools. But again, all of this stuff is in the tip sheets that I'm giving you at the end. Claude can do most of this. ChatGPT is better for doing some things. Claude's better for doing other things, in my opinion, at least. I know that this may all sound a little bit experimental, like you need to figure out what works and what doesn't. But I mean, it's not really. Anthropic's own growth team now automates growth experimentation with Claude. Their head of growth described it publicly, you know, some time ago. I attended like a excuse me, I attended like a workshop, and he explained all of this stuff. You know, Claude identifies opportunities. It builds the change. It tests it. It analyzes the results. Uh, all that's kind of like required from the person is to review what Claude has done before anything ships. So you know, you essentially become the editor. You essentially become the checker, you know. But Claude can do a lot of this stuff for you. You may need to make edits here and there, but yeah, these AI tools are really getting very good. And yeah, even companies as big as Claude, they use Claude themselves to do their own work in this kind of thing. So let's take a look at the next slide. AI workflows. So 5 rules for getting real value from AI tools, hopefully without the downsides. So rule 1, as I mentioned, you are the editor. The AI does the drafts, but you have to do the deciding, and you have to do the final checks. Your judgment and your voice are what make the output yours. If you publish just raw AI output, then you've handed anything individual about yourself away, and people can tell. Claude can do the basics, or sorry, I'm pushing Claude too much, but LLMs can do the basics, but you do need to make it yours. You do need to do the editing. You need to ensure the accuracy, and you need to give it a personal touch, and make sure that your edge is always kind of exposed clearly in your content. Rule number 2: try to build repeatable prompts, so that you know, when you make a prompt and it produces something really good, try to save it as like a template. Ideally with your Claude design, for example, you know, you can input your branding and project details, and you know, these LLMs, they also have fantastic memory now, where they can recount whatever is relevant to your next prompt. Um, but try to use reusable prompts that worked before, so that you can um, consistently get good results without having to constantly think about how to prompt these things. Um, on the memory point, so this, on the third rule, try and feed it context. The difference between like generic outputs from these things and um, the difference between generic outputs and something that's like on brand and something that seems original, um, it's almost entirely about the context that you give it. So if you give these LLMs like your positioning documents, your one-liners, a few of your best past posts, and just feel very free to press the record button and just give it like a stream of consciousness style thought process about how you're thinking about all of this, and all of that kind of individualization and all of the stuff that's coming from you will get fed into its outputs. So as much context and as much kind of like individuality as possible. Point number 4: try to verify everything it gives out. So never ever publish a piece of content or anything that's AI generated, or any kind of claims made by the AI without checking it yourself. This is like really important. A single bad output or a single wrong statistic that can earn you, you know, potentially very bad results. It can earn you a community note. It can earn you replies that blow up in a way that you would very much hope that they wouldn't. You need to make sure that everything is checked and scrutinized properly. Never use an AI output without checking it. The last one, point number 5, and this does overlap with a couple of the previous points, but keep the human signal. So generic AI sounding content is very easy to detect for many people now. People are using LLMs a lot. They know they know how AI talks. They know its most used phrases. They know its most used structure for how it writes and how it communicates. And it's very easy to kind of like ignore this point, but both readers and the platforms themselves these days are able to spot this. So use AI for volume, use it for speed, but you need to supply the opinions. You need to supply the unique stories, and you need to make sure that it accurately reflects your voice. I mean, like the goal here is leverage. You leverage AI tools to do 10x, 20x more than you otherwise would be able to do yourself. You're not aiming to replace yourself. You're aiming to give a huge amount of leverage to what you were previously able to do. So yeah, one founder, yourself, running good AI workflows can genuinely outwork a small team these days. For most of you, that's the difference between marketing happening and going well and it just not happening at all. So yeah, really use these AI tools, but use them properly. So GEO. So yeah, we touched on SEO earlier. GEO is generative engine optimization. It's kind of like, the way I think of it, it's kind of like SEO for LLMs. And it's here in this bootcamp curriculum for a reason. It's very important, and I would argue that this is possibly the biggest opportunity that you have, and we have. The reason for that is essentially where these AI overviews show up on Google. This is a really striking number. Basically, organic clicks after that then drop by around, I think it's 60%, if I remember rightly. Discovery is basically moving inside of ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini. So like when somebody asks what is the best tool to do this, XYZ. The AI's answer is usually coming up first on the front page. And after that, once you have that answer, you no longer need to click on anything else to get what you needed. So the whole kind of like geo is kind of like changing the whole thing. It's your citations here essentially they compound. So models tend to keep recommending what's already visible and what's well documented. So whoever gets cited early in a category, whether it's like a specific agent category or whatever, that category tends to keep getting cited in the future. So if you're building in a specific category, especially, these kind of like early budding agent categories, these are still now being like written into these models. It's still, there's a window of opportunity here that most established companies I don't think have like fully caught on to this yet. But being early with GEO is one of the best edges you can probably find at this present moment. And yeah, we'll go into the next slide, which is about the GEO playbook and how to actually put that into practice. And again, the tip sheet at the end, I really recommend to study that too. So there's, on this slide, we've got 6 moves. And then usually for marketing, there's like real peer-reviewed research behind this. This isn't just opinion. So basically, a study from Princeton presented at KDD in 2024. I know it's some time ago now, but this is still relevant up to now. It found that specific content changes lift your visibility in AI answers by up to 40%. So the biggest levers in order, it's adding quotations from credible sources. That's about plus 41%, it comes up as. Adding statistics that are concrete, verifiable numbers, that's plus 32%. Adding source citations, that's plus 30. And one finding worth noting, keyword stuffing performed worse than doing nothing. So using too many keywords, that actually performs worse than not incorporating keywords at all. So what wins in GEO is writing naturally, and that's what incredibly gets cited. It's like old style SEO, from, I remember, when I used to study this stuff, these kind of like old style SEO tricks, you can't really apply them to GEO. I think many people seem to think you can. You can't. You need to try and just write naturally and get the point across clearly and consistently over and over again. And this is your best chance of getting cited by these LLMs and showing up in the AI prompts. For the rest of because of the time, I'm not going to carry on with the GEO stuff, but I want you, please check out the tip sheets. Hopefully by now they're linked underneath. And yeah, they should say everything that I could possibly say here, but in a condensed and probably easy to follow way. So yeah, next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, with socials, I'm personally, and I recommend to be X first, because that's essentially where these industries, that we're involved with live. It's where most people get the kind of like daily content fix. And you gotta focus on hooks. The hook, they say, is 90% of the post. So write 10 first lines and publish the best one, because that hook is what's going to get people reading. And I know that sounds overkill, and this is something that AI can help you with too. But that first line, if that first line doesn't catch attention, then nobody's going to read the rest of the post. Another thing, so like a 30-second screen recording of your agent doing something real and something interesting beats any graphic ever designed. That's the proof, in video. So that's kind of like what Claude have done. And that's the Claude flywheel, and you need to kind of figure out how to do that with your own product. Just make it very easy to see the product this product does. I'm not talking like long demo videos, like a 30-second screen recording probably in most cases beats a 5-10 minute demo video, because people are going to actually watch it, and you kind of need to get to the meat of what you're trying to portray. Another point in this social part is the reply guy strategy. So like 15, 20 thoughtful replies a day on bigger accounts in your niche. We covered this earlier, but it's easy to overlook. It's very simple, it's unglamorous, but it's the cheapest way to sort of buy reach on the platform. It takes a little bit of time. You need to get creative with your opinions. Very few people do this properly. But if you manage to do that and you show up consistently on these big accounts, people are going to notice you, and you're going to build a real following. This may be how you build your first 10, 50, 100 followers, maybe through doing this. Next point, cadence beats virality. Okay, so 1 or 2 solid posts daily for a month or 2 months or 3 months, that beats trying to get one lucky viral hit. You can do that too if you have the time. But what the algorithm really rewards is showing up and like a really regular presence. And it also builds trust with your audience that you're around, you're showing up daily. And yeah, they begin to see you a lot. They begin to trust that you're busy and you're active, and they'll want to follow you and engage with you and invest in you, or whatever it may be. So yeah, going viral is kind of unpredictable, and it's not really within your control at all. But posting consistently is the reliable way to get results. And finally, we've got the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your posts should be either useful or entertaining. 20% of your posts should be asking for something. People don't follow accounts that only kind of promote themselves and are asking for attention. People follow accounts where they're going to get some kind of alpha, or where they enjoy what they're seeing. It's pretty much as simple as that. So try and be really high signal, and or try to, in some way relate or entertain your audience. And the posts where you're really just asking for what you want from the audience, these should be more few and far between. Next slide. Okay, so yeah, a little bit here on the X algorithm. So yeah, you don't need to write any of this down. This is like all in the tip sheet that you hopefully have found by now, or find at the end. But this is what X's own open source ranking code suggests. Plus there's kind of like big independent data sets and studies that kind of verify everything that I'll say here. So the first thing is the link penalty. So a lot of people make the mistake of including a link in the initial body of text in a post, and that will cost you anywhere between 30 to 50% of your reach. So, well, and even on on a non-premium account, this is even worse. So the most recent data that I've seen, it shows that link posts from free accounts that don't pay for the premium get essentially zero engagement. Completely invisible on the algorithm. They don't show up on anybody's feeds. And X kind of X announced that this had been removed some point last year, but the data from this year suggests that that's still that kind of suppression of posts with links in it still very much continues to this day. It's just like more indirect. But yeah, the general principle, I mean, very much that you pay for a premium account because it makes a huge difference with the algorithm in general. But yeah, just don't include links in the first post. First post is all about the hook, and could be the demo or the just like the meat of the post, and you can end that post with link below and post a second post underneath in like a thread, and you can put the URL in the second post, and that way you kind of bypass these algorithm suppression problems. Or you can even include the link URL at the end of a video, for example. X loves videos, so yeah, I quite often do this. I'll create and post videos, and more often than not, at the end of the video, I'll include a URL. But yeah, so that second post, or whatever the last post is in the thread, that's the one to put the link in, and that way your reach is preserved. And yeah, so what do we have here? What the algorithm weighs. So basically, one reply is worth, I think it's 25 to 30 likes. And a reply that you then answer is worth several more times again. So assuming that you have real replies on your posts, that they're not in any way sort of like botted, it makes answering every reply in almost as soon as it hits, if possible. So ideally within like the first hour or so, but that's the highest kind of single leverage activity platform. That's the thing that the algorithm rewards the most. Bookmarks are massively overweighted, to be honest. So make save worthy content like frameworks, checklists, data, things that people are actually gonna want to refer back to. Because if people are bookmarking your posts, the algorithm is going to show them up on a lot more people's feeds. It basically sees it's telling the algorithm that that post is valuable if there's a lot of bookmarks on it. They say that the first 30 to 60 minutes decide the post fate. So like early velocity is everything. So that's why timing matters with things like replies. And you also need to think about like the days in the week that you're saying things. So as a rule of thumb, Monday to Wednesday is the best days to post to get the highest engagement and the highest views on your posts. The consensus is that the peak is kind of like Tuesday and Wednesday, and the very worst day is Saturday. But yeah, weekends in general, it's just people aren't using social platforms anywhere near as much at the weekends as they are through the week. So try and think about the days that you're making any big announcements or just any big content in general. Try and post early to midweek if you can, unless you have a good reason to post towards the end of the week. But never on a weekend. I mean, more superficial posts on a weekend if you have them. If you have something to say, say it. But anything big, save it for the early days of the week. And you also need to think about hours as well. So you need to post at times that match your audience's time zone. Um, so don't just post when is convenient for you. I mean, Twitter, for example, has a way that you can schedule posts. So, but try and schedule them or post them at a time that suits the audience that you're targeting. So if you want to target like a broad audience, so it's like the US audience and like European audience and various other audiences all together, then try to post like early to mid afternoon universal time, or GMT time, as many people call it. That way you'll catch like the American mornings and you'll catch like the late afternoon, like and everything in between. Um, so yeah, X content also, it seems to decay faster than on any other platform that I've used. So timing matters more than anything else. Your post will unlikely, keep floating through the algorithm and showing up on people's feeds for very long. No post does. Um, so yeah, aim to post content that's going to start conversations so that you're actually going to get replies. That's another thing I could mention. Goes without saying, stay well away from anything that could possibly get you blocked or reported. Once you've kind of like built this distribution channel and you own it, you don't want to risk it in any way. But yeah, hopefully that goes without saying. Community and partners. So in crypto and in AI, in developer communities, I mean, community isn't a channel; it's kind of a moat. We mentioned this earlier with Claude. You build your own space, whether it's Discord or Telegram. Most developers tend to use Discord, but there's one sort of timing rule that everyone seems to break, and they seem to open these channels too early. So if you have a server with 4 people who barely say anything or don't say anything, this actually works against you in a really big way, because your project just looks inactive and uninteresting. So when my advice would be to only open a community channel when you have, I don't know, something 10, 20, 30 genuinely active people on your socials who are genuinely, very obviously interested in your project and your product, and try to then gather them together, and yeah, that's the time to start a Discord. In terms of like ecosystem and co-marketing, we again, yeah, another thing that we touched on earlier, so I won't go into it too much. But if you think about what you currently have in front of you, like the ecosystem of projects that you have to work with that could jointly market with you, at the moment you have Metis, you have GOATNetwork, you have ClawUp. These are kind of like all within your orbit right now. So don't be afraid to kind of like pester us, in a high signal way, of course, but don't be afraid to encourage us to help push your posts and do everything that you can to work with us and try to get in front of our audiences. And the same for any other kind of network you may be a part of. Try to find a way to get in front of their audiences, make yourself relevant to their audience, and get them to post about you. And this is another great means of distribution where you can start building up like an early audience. Essentially share our audiences. We got so KOLs. I won't touch too heavily on KOLs, but one point I will make is that micro tends to beat macro in this sense. 5 like 5 to 50K accounts in your exact niche. Um, you know, an account with 5,000 or 50,000 followers, but their entire audience, or the vast majority of the audience, is focused on your niche. When they get real engagement, that will outconvert like a generic account nearly all of the time. So you get these accounts that have like 1 million followers or 2 million followers, but there may only be a handful of people on there that would be interested in your product, and those people are likely not even to see, the posts that they make. You really want to find these smaller accounts that are really niche and specialize in the thing that you're focused on, and you want to try to get them to post about you, whether that's in the future through paying, but you want to get them interested in your product and get them organically posting about your product. So that maybe you need to reach out to them, or as I mentioned before, rather than cold reaching out, ideally get somebody to set you up with them, have a talk with them about your product, get them interested, and hopefully they'll try it and make a post about it. And this kind of thing can really compound in a huge way, and you can get that flywheel spinning. Free amplifiers that most people forget. Excuse me, really getting a very dry throat. So one more channel category that most builders completely forget. The free launch services that already exist in Web3. Things like directories and trackers. So like DeFi Llama, DApp Radar. What else have we got? There's agent directories springing up all over the place. And these kind of listings, they also feed into things like GEO, because AI models read these things and they pull their data from these things. So you want to get listed on as many of these kind of like directories and trackers as you can. Another way that you can kind of like incentivize early engagement is through quest platforms like Galaxy and Zeely. So they may not necessarily be the audience that you want, but if you do things right, you can retain a small portion of come to you through these platforms, and they'll become your first supporters and your first users. Through these platforms, you can drive thousands of task completions very cheaply. But yeah, a lot of the traffic is kind of like, yeah, airdrop kind of like farmers, and that's why you really kind of need to use these things as like the top of the funnel, not like the be all and end all of finding product market fit. Like I said, you'll likely retain very, very few users from these platforms, or even gain very few users from the work that the people do on these platforms. So yeah, just treat this as a top of funnel activity if you decide to do it. Another one is launch platforms. So Product Hunt has like a genuine AI audience right now. And a well-prepared like launch day will compound very nicely with, say, like your X push and your newsletter and your blog post push. You also want to like utilize like ecosystem media. So like Meta's Goat Network and Claw Up channels, plus crypto newsletters, podcasts. These kind of things will cover bootcamp projects. You kind of need to like reach out to them, pitch them. In many cases, or maybe most cases, you'll get silence. But in some cases, you may get a response. And in a few cases, they may decide to work with you, talk to you, and cover your project. So reaching out costs nothing. Yeah. So something else. So we've got demo days here. I mean, you've got this boot camp obviously to showcase your project and try to get some like early distribution. But treat this as like, try to treat it like a launch, not like something that you have to do to get through the boot camp. there is like a real audience of developers here, and there'll be a whole bunch of people watching. So treat this as something like a really important means of distribution. Um, so yeah, on to the next slide. So paid ads, pour fuel only on a fire. So yeah, a mistake a lot of people make is paying for advertising too early. So paid advertising can be extremely powerful and extremely useful, but if you're paying for things before your product's ready, for example, um, or before you already have like a base audience, paid advertising uh, only amplifies kind of what already is working and what already converts. So if you're not already converting your page or your content or your product with organic activity and organic visitors, paid advertising won't automatically fix that. You'll just be spending money to reach more people who still don't convert. So you kind of need to fix the problems underneath before you start paying for things. Assuming that you don't currently have any kind of organic reach. Um, how to identify when you're genuinely ready for this? So you can do some small tests. So $200 to $500 or something. Um, one variable at a time, and know two numbers before spending anything. So what a user is worth to you and what the user costs to acquire. So if a user costs more to acquire than they're worth to you, you need to pause and fix that before you spend any more. Um, a user may be spending on average 50 cents a month using your product, but it may be costing you $1 a month. Sorry, maybe costing you $1 per user with your means of advertising. So you kind of really need to monitor this and figure out what works and what doesn't. Web3 specifically, so X ads kind of fit crypto native audiences best, in my opinion. So they're like a genuinely good way to buy a broad amount of views. Um, I do use X advertising um, as much as I can, to be quite honest. So if your project is willing to invest in X's verified org status, I think it's called like Premium Business now, but yeah, when I started with it, it was called Verified Org. That subscription, it bundles a whole bunch of free ad credit, or you know, along the other kind of perks you get with that, like the gold affiliate badge, um, or the gold verified org status, or whatever it might be called now. Which people kind of see that often as a superior project status. Um, so again, that's like perception through association again, from earlier in the talk. So yeah, I think if I remember rightly, Google and Meta, they have strict crypto ad policies. So you kind of need to like verify your eligibility before building campaigns on those platforms. Um, but yeah, with X, you're able to you're able to just start with this immediately. Um, if you can find some like niche newsletters and some like niche podcasts that fit your that fit your product and your project, these are some of like the best like genuinely valuable things that you can that you may need to pay for. And probably the safest paid bet possible is boosting like a KOL post that already performed organically. So you're not guessing that post works. So if you put out a post, or a KOL puts out a post and it seems to be doing well and it's getting organic views, that's probably the thing to boost, not the thing that is to boost, not the thing that isn't getting any views. Boost the things that work, forget the things that don't. Then you don't need to kind of like guess if it's going to work or not, and guess whether it's money well spent. You're kind of amplifying something that, has proven to drive meaningful results even without having to pay for them. Uh, I've got some notes here about what works for Anthropic, and what the team found to be true in this area. So first, the day zero and day one experience is one of the most important and highest levers that you have for long-term retention. And that's more than most acquisition work. I think this surprised people. So Claude's own sign up, it asks you who you are and it asks you what you're interested in, and then it tries to route you to the right product. Instead of letting people look at like a blank screen and not know what to do. That asking those initial right questions and routing people to the right feature that gets them going almost immediately. This seems to be the best way to get user retention. So you need to try to make your UX kind of very as tailored as possible to the person that's using it. Another point that they made is cutting these onboarding steps. It usually lowers conversion, and the fourth is that quality drives growth. So his single most impactful quarter, the growth lead single most impactful quarter before Anthropic came from ignoring metrics completely and just fixing. Sorry, his single most impactful quarter before Anthropic came from ignoring metrics completely and just fixing the quality of the first run experience. So this initial first experience that people have with your product, hopefully seamless UX that directs them to doing what they want to do as quickly as possible. This is the most important thing for retention. And then in turn, the flywheel effect starts and they start to, tell other people about the brilliant product that they just used. The second part of this, about applying it to your agent, I'm going to skip because I'm just way over time. Essentially, yeah, just try and apply these principles to your agent, and there's more about this in the tip sheet at the end of the talk. So yeah, measurement: one North Star, one funnel, no vanity. So if you don't measure metrics around, say, around your audience, guessing what's working and what isn't. So you just need to keep it simple. So like one North Star metric that equals real value delivered, weekly active agents, task completed, revenue. Follow these kind of things, track these kind of things. Don't track, don't think that you're successful if you're gaining followers. Follow accounts don't tell you whether a product is being actually used or not. It doesn't tell you, it's no indicator of future success. Rising metrics in, product use, revenue, people completing tasks with your product, active agents using your product. These kind of things are real signal as to whether or not you're going in the right direction. And then let's talk about the funnel here. So visitors, signups, activated, retained, and referring. So one question for each stage: where do people leak out of the funnel? You kind of need to know if there's a point in your distribution that's losing people, whether it's they hit the website and then they don't know where to go from there, or they sign up for the newsletter and maybe your email marketing is too kind of like guerrilla style, and it's too much for them. They decide to unsubscribe from there. Or you need to figure out whether there is whether there are any issues here with your retention. and if there is an issue with retention, where exactly that hole is in the funnel, and fix it. That's imperative. If people aren't coming back, you need to pause the marketing and you need to reassess from first principles what you're doing, whether or not it's working. Marketing a product people don't return to is just a waste of effort. So you need to fix the retention and then go back to the marketing. So yeah, a spreadsheet updated weekly with these kind of metrics that I mentioned before. That's probably enough at this stage. So your first 30 days. Let's actually make all of this practical, because this is, quite frankly, it's been a long talk. And yeah, congratulations if you've made it this far. So 30-day plan starting this week. So week 1 is the foundations. So write the positioning, write the one-liner, identify your edge, make every profile and your site say the same thing, built around that edge and that positioning. That kind of like entity consistency point from a GEO standpoint is crucial. Get your analytics in place. So it's not fun, it's not exciting, but just figure out how to do this stuff, where it lives, and just turn it into a routine if you can. Everything else kind of depends on this kind of like this ground. So get all of that kind of sorted out in your first week. In week 2, get your first content live. Make sure that you're incorporating, the right SEO and GEO principles that we kind of mentioned earlier. That stuff should be baked into the content. There's no divide between SEO content, GEO content, and your regular content. Try to incorporate those principles in your content where possible. Try to make 15, 20 replies a day on social media to accounts that are relevant in your niche, and of course replies back to people who are commenting on your own posts. It's crucial. Interesting replies, interesting opinions, things that are going to get people thinking, and things that are going to get people wanting to hear more from you. It's probably going to feel like there's not a lot happening this week, because this is just going to be the very, very beginning of whatever effects, and these, like I said, these things take consistency and they take time. So yeah, this week there might feel like there's not an awful lot happening, but you just need to persevere. It's very normal to feel like that, but consistent effort always feels slow at the beginning. Results come later. Week 3 with assuming you're ready for some kind of launch, you need to do like a big coordinated push. You need a launch thread. Remember to put links in replies to your posts, not in the main body of your posts, on X. Demo videos are great with URL cards at the end, on the end cards. Ecosystem cross posts. So try to harness the ecosystem that you're in. Currently, Meta's ClawUp, GOATNetwork. Try to harness our audiences as much as possible, and any others that you might be able to get involved. And try to DM your early target users. Try to build a relationship with these people. Try to get as much feedback as you possibly can, and act on that feedback. Make them feel important. Make them feel like they're part of the product development. This is important. Week 4, try to learn from the previous 3 weeks. Try to kind of read the funnel. Try to talk to the users who activated, and even try to talk to the users who didn't continue working with your product. Get their feedback too. Constructive criticism is, one piece of very constructive criticism is more than 100 pieces of praise. You need to embrace the criticism, and you need to learn from it. And double down on the one form that's actually showing signals. So whether whether your X posts are getting a lot of traction, whether your newsletter, your blog post is, figure out where these users are coming from, and make sure you put as much effort as you can into that channel, and just repeat this cycle. So growth is kind of like, it's a process of running this loop over and over again, and being consistent. It's not just, launch, make an announcement, and hope the users come flying in. You need to be actively doing these things consistently over and over again. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the talk, so please, if you have made it this far, just bear with me for a little bit longer. It shouldn't be too long. The fastest way to improve is to simply skip the classic mistakes. So millions of people have come before you making mistakes when it comes to trying to found and launch projects, me being one of them. And the mistakes, the core mistakes at this known, are pretty well documented. And I've made most of these myself. So the first mistake I've made is building in silence. So yeah, I think it's quite fashionable to say I'm building in stealth. So you have like 6 quiet months or 12 quiet months, and then when you come launch, you expect fireworks, and you think that it's all going to culminate today. It usually doesn't. You need to start talking about the project from the beginning. As we talked about with Elon Musk, you need to start building that perception around your project and your product early on. Another mistake is, as we mentioned earlier, it's trying to market to everyone ends up being no one. You need to identify where your niche audience lives, and you need to target them specifically. Another mistake is chasing virality. Now, I've been guilty of this myself many, many times. Virality is unpredictable. It will come at times that you don't expect it, hopefully. But it's not a substitute for a consistent system. Now, another point, this is more of like a dicey one. It's like buying followers. This one deserves something said. So buying followers, it kind of like poisons your account's reputation to some degree. It doesn't seem to fool people anymore. It doesn't seem to fool the algorithms. And no AI is reading social signals based on, the amount of followers accounts have and things like that. So there's not really much point in buying, using these kind of like old marketing tricks that may have worked 5 or 6 years ago anymore. You try and do things properly and do things right, because this is the way to earn credibility, in my opinion, in 2026. If you start trying to buy followers and buy engagement these days, you're kind of paying money to make your account look worse than even silence does. So it's really not worth it. So biggest mistake probably is quitting early, thinking that this kind of consistent marketing playbook isn't working, and so it's a waste of time. Haven't got any users, nobody seems interested, just going to stop. This is the biggest mistake people make. There's a very fine line between having no users and no engagement to like one post or one product feature, or something that just seems to capture people's attention, and that's when the flywheel starts. You just got to keep at it. You got to be consistent. You got to be honest about what's working and what isn't, and you do need to adjust, of course, but keep at it. Stay consistent. If you're consistent when 10 others give up, that in itself is an advantage. And yeah, the final mistake for technical founders: try too much jargon. Like, try not to post too much things that people just aren't going to understand. you'll just lose people. They just won't want to read the content. A lot of people, I'm sure they think that this is an advantage, being technical and it's impressive and it sounds intelligent. People want to understand the stuff that they're reading. They want to get to the meat straight away. They don't want to be bombarded with stuff that they don't understand. Yeah, okay. Next slide. Your takeaway pack. So yeah, I've mentioned this a few times, but before we close the talk, let me just briefly walk you through what's way after this session. And I can't see the socials at the moment, but hopefully these are linked below already. The first thing is the growth tip sheet. So I have this here somewhere. May be able to show you. Growth tip sheet, here it is. So yeah, that should be up on the stage now. But essentially, this is full of easily implementable tips to get you going straight away. It's kind of like the condensed version of this talk in practical, executable fashion, or easy to follow, easy to implement tips, essentially. So the numbers behind like everything that I've said in this talk, the sources, the X algorithm data, stuff about like the link penalty, the engagement weights, the timing windows, the citations, the GEO research that I mentioned earlier in the talk. All of this stuff is in the tip sheet, plus lots more. Every claim that I've made is sourced. Every number is dated. Tells you how to retest the fast-moving ones yourself. Platforms, as we know, can change. Algorithms can change. You need to kind of keep on top of this stuff. And there are ways to test this stuff and to recognize when these changes are happening. So please take the tip sheet, and I hope that's really useful for you. The second one I've got is the AI manual. So this is how to kind of like use AI in your day-to-day operations efficiently. So I'm just adding that one here. So yeah, similar to the tip sheet, but this one is focused purely on how to use AI to kind of like automate as much of your marketing as possible. With of course you being like the editor and the final checker of everything. So yeah, this marketing manual, it's got like 15 plays. Each of them has a goal. They have numbered steps, and I've included a whole bunch of like copy paste prompts that you can just use with LLMs, and it will get you result. It will get you started. It will get you going. Things like a weekly SEO and GEO monitor. You know, you can build these things into what you do using LLMs. You can it's incredible. You can do things it used to take entire multiple teams of people to do. You can do it all now with LLMs. You just need to know how to use this stuff. That's what the AI ops sheet is for. So finally, last few things before we close. I just want to kind of like very quickly as possible go over everything that we've covered in this talk. So the first thing, find your edge. That's essential. Write it down. The thing that you can credibly win on, whether it's product, brand and association, distribution, community focus, you need to know what your edge is, and you need to amplify that across all of these different channels. Write a sentence. Everything else that you've heard here today is an amplifier of that edge. Point two, and this is very relevant to the first one. Perception is everything. Perception and reality converge over time. So your job is to keep perception slightly ahead of reality, so that it kind of like pulls users and resources towards you, but never so far ahead that reality won't eventually be able to catch up to that perception. It's like there's an art to this. It's a balancing act. Elon Musk is the most brilliant at this on the planet. So if you can study what that guy has done, you're going to be ahead of most people. Not easy to do, of course, on his scale. um, he's a unicorn, but on a smaller scale, the same principles can be applied, and you can get results doing these things. The third point is to position narrow. So try to get famous with 50 people or 100 people first. Try to get your edge across to those 50 or 100 people. Get the flywheel going. Start with them. Focus on them. Don't try to immediately bring in 1 million users. It just doesn't work like that. You need to find people, build with them first, and try to get them to get that flywheel effect going. The fourth point is, again, the Elon Musk point. You are the channel. So ideally, not everybody likes to be public, or not everybody likes to talk in public, but the more public you can be, you are the representative of your company. You associate you and the company as being one entity. Uh, uh, the bigger audience that you can build, the bigger following, the more respect that you can build for yourself, that will automatically translate to your company. There's no difference between the two. The fourth point, so again, it's basically the same. Sorry. The fifth point, you need to try to keep SEO for humans, GEO for machines. So the GEO window it's open right now. So this is something that you need to take seriously straight away. Figure out how to learn GEO as best you can. Learn how to take full advantage of this potentially short window that we have to be the project that is cited by AI. These automated AI responses and these LLM outputs and whatnot. Number 6. So consistency compounds. This is something that I've said over and over again during the past 2.5 hours. Consistency absolutely does compound. The industry, any budding industry, swings in both directions. Those swings aren't under your control. Virality is not under your control. Consistency and constant improvement or attempted improvement are under your control. So run this kind of like 4-week playbook and run it on a loop. Do it again and do it again and do it again. Be consistent. Figure out how you can improve as you go along. And yeah, I pray that you see results. I'm sure you will. So yeah, again, I'm Ben. You can follow me on X, my favorite channel, as you by now know, at 0x1164. If you want to reach out to me on Telegram, it's at OX1164. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time you like. I'll always try and help. I'll always try and work with you if I can, from the Goat Network perspective, see if we can do some co-marketing together. I want to wish you all the best of luck with your projects. Really looking forward to learning more about to get through to the next stages, or the late stages, and especially the ones that come through to work with us with the Goat AI Builder Grants. Very looking forward to working with you there. So yeah, now happy to answer any questions if there are any. I have actually noticed a couple of questions on my site here. How much time per day does all of this take? I mean, you can spend as long as you like on marketing. There's quite literally no end to the things you can do. But in terms of just executing the basics, I mean, 90 minutes to a couple of hours a day, and you'd probably be doing If you utilize AI properly and the AI workflows that we've talked through and that are on the tip sheet, um, you're going to be way ahead of most projects when it comes to marketing. You just need to put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort into figuring out how to do this well. Um, Another question: should I buy X Premium? Um, I guess it depends exactly on your project, but if X is the core social channel for you, then that's one of your biggest distribution platforms, and absolutely yes. We mentioned this in one of the slides, but just having the premium tag, it gives like a meaningful visibility multiplier as such. And you don't get as much of like the algorithm suppression as you do if you have a free account, by a long way. Um, but yeah, there's more details on this kind of stuff in the tip sheet, so take a look at that. Wouldn't it be easier to just hire a marketer? Probably, definitely, if they're good at what they do. But yeah, I would do this later than you think. Um, Early distribution is hard to delegate. People want to hear the founder. You need to treat yourself as the core marketer. Part of your job as a founder is marketing, whether you like it or not. You kind of need to get yourself out there if you can. People are partly buying into you, under the person. Um, yeah, I can't really understate that. Overstate that enough. Only hire when your growth process is kind of like working, and you can't handle you've got too much to handle yourself. Then hire. The same way any business works. Um, don't hire somebody hoping that they're going to figure it out and do it all for you. I don't think that's going to work. That's all I can see. So yeah, I really, really hope that you've taken something away from this talk. If you haven't, I'm sorry, it's been a long one, but I'm sure that the tip sheet and the AI marketing operation sheet, I'm sure that they will be useful to you. So please take those. They're completely free. And yeah, I look forward to meeting some of you in the future when it comes to working on the Goat AI Builder Grants program together. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best.